Stories and Documentary Network. Nestled along the coastal plains of present-day Vietnam, the Champa Kingdom flourished as a vibrant civilization for over a millennium, from roughly the 2nd century Common Era to the 19th century. The kingdom's origins can be traced back to the indigenous cultures of ancient Vietnam, including the Sa Huynh and Dong Son civilizations, which laid the groundwork for Champa's emergence as a distinct political entity. Situated at the crossroads of Southeast Asia, Champa benefited from its strategic location along maritime trade routes, facilitating cultural exchange and economic prosperity. The Champa Kingdom was characterized by its dynamic socio-political structure, intricate religious beliefs, and flourishing artistic and architectural traditions. Ruled by a series of dynastic kings, Champa was divided into several principalities, each governed by local chieftains who owed allegiance to the central authority. Religion played a central role in Champa society, with Hinduism and Buddhism serving as the primary spiritual doctrines. Temples and shrines dotted the landscape, showcasing the kingdom's religious syncretism and architectural ingenuity. The Champa Kingdom was situated in the coastal regions of present-day central and southern Vietnam, encompassing a diverse landscape of plains, river valleys, and highlands. Bordered by the South China Sea to the east and the Annamite Mountains to the west, Champa's strategic location facilitated maritime trade and cultural exchange with neighboring regions, while its fertile soil supported agriculture and urban development. The kingdom's coastline was dotted with natural harbors and estuaries, which served as vital hubs for maritime commerce and fishing activities. Rivers such as the Tu Bon and Perfume River traversed Champa's interior, providing freshwater sources and facilitating inland transportation. The region's tropical climate and monsoon patterns contributed to the agricultural productivity of Champa, allowing for the cultivation of rice, fruits, and spices. Before the emergence of the Champa Kingdom, the coastal regions of central Vietnam were inhabited by several indigenous cultures, including the Sa Huynh and Dong Son civilizations. The Sa Huynh culture, dating back to the first millennium before the Common Era, was known for its advanced bronze casting techniques, maritime trade networks, and distinctive burial practices. Meanwhile, the Dong Son culture, which flourished from around the 7th century before the Common Era, produced elaborate bronze drums, ceramics, and agricultural implements, reflecting its sophisticated material culture and artistic achievements. These pre-Champa civilizations laid the groundwork for the emergence of more complex political entities in the region, as well as facilitating cultural interactions with neighboring societies such as the Funan Kingdom in present-day Cambodia and the Han Dynasty in China. The exchange of goods, ideas, and technologies contributed to the cultural diversity and socio-economic development of the region, setting the stage for the rise of the Champa Kingdom. The exact origins of the Champa Kingdom remain shrouded in mystery, with archaeological evidence suggesting that it emerged as a distinct political entity around the 2nd century Common Era. The early rulers of Champa likely established their power through a combination of military conquest, alliance building, and socio-economic control over key trade routes and agricultural resources. By the 4th century Common Era, Champa had consolidated its territorial holdings and established a network of coastal cities and inland settlements. The kingdom's political organization was characterized by a system of vassal states, each governed by local rulers who paid tribute to the central authority based in the capital city of Indrapura, modern-day Dong Duong. Over time, Champa's rulers adopted Indian cultural and religious practices, including Hinduism and Buddhism, which played a central role in shaping the kingdom's identity and worldview. As Champa expanded its influence along the coastline and into the interior highlands, it came into contact with neighboring polities such as the Khmer Empire to the west and the Chinese dynasties to the north. These interactions fostered cultural exchange, diplomatic alliances, and occasional conflicts, as Champa sought to assert its dominance in the region and secure access to valuable trade routes and resources. The Champa Kingdom was characterized by a system of dynastic rule, where power was passed down through hereditary lines within ruling families. Dynastic succession was typically patrilineal, with kings ascending to the throne based on primogeniture or designated heirs chosen by the reigning monarch. The legitimacy of rulership was often reinforced through religious rituals, such as coronation ceremonies and offerings to Hindu deities. Champa's dynastic lineage comprised a succession of ruling families, each associated with specific regions or principalities within the kingdom. Prominent dynasties included the Amravati, Vijaya, and Panduranga, among others, which vied for power and influence over Champa's territories. Dynastic rivalries and succession disputes were common throughout Champa's history, often leading to periods of instability and fragmentation within the kingdom. The administrative system of the Champa kingdom was characterized by a hierarchical structure, with power centralized in the hands of the ruling monarch and his appointed officials. At the local level, Champa was divided into several principalities or provinces, each governed by a local chieftain or noble who served as a vassal to the central authority. These provincial rulers, known as mandalikas or maharajas, administered justice, collected taxes, and maintained order within their respective domains. Beneath the provincial level, Champa's administrative hierarchy included a network of officials, bureaucrats, and courtiers who served the royal court in various capacities. Key administrative positions included ministers, tax collectors, military commanders, and religious advisors, who played crucial roles in the governance and administration of the kingdom. The royal court, situated in the capital city of Indrapura, served as the political and cultural center of Champa, where decisions regarding state policy, diplomacy, and patronage were made. The military organization of the Champa kingdom was essential for maintaining internal security, defending against external threats, and projecting power beyond its borders. Champa's military forces consisted of a combination of professional soldiers, feudal levies, and mercenaries, drawn from various social classes and ethnic groups within the kingdom. Military service was often tied to land tenure and feudal obligations, with provincial rulers responsible for raising and maintaining local militias to support the central government in times of war. Champa's army was organized along traditional lines, with infantry, cavalry, and naval forces playing complementary roles in warfare. Infantry units, equipped with spears, swords, and shields, formed the backbone of Champa's ground forces, while cavalry units provided mobility and shock tactics on the battlefield. The kingdom's navy, comprised of warships and maritime vessels, patrolled coastal waters, protected trade routes, and conducted amphibious operations against enemy strongholds. In addition to conventional military forces, Champa also employed specialized units such as elephant corps, archers, and siege engineers, who played crucial roles in siege warfare and defensive fortifications. Military strategy and tactics were influenced by Champa's geographic terrain, cultural heritage, and historical encounters with neighboring powers, as well as the kingdom's reliance on maritime trade and naval power for security and prosperity. Overall, the socio-political structure and governance of the Champa kingdom were characterized by a complex interplay of dynastic rule, administrative bureaucracy, and military organization, which contributed to the kingdom's stability, resilience, and cultural cohesion over the centuries. The Champa kingdom boasted a rich artistic tradition, characterized by exquisite sculptures and artifacts that reflected the kingdom's religious beliefs, cultural diversity, and artistic ingenuity. Sculptures played a central role in Champa's religious practices, with intricate stone carvings and bronze statues depicting Hindu deities, Buddhist bodhisattvas, and mythical figures adorning temple complexes and sacred sites throughout the kingdom. Champa's sculptural artistry encompassed a wide range of styles and techniques, influenced by Indian, Khmer, and indigenous traditions. Sandstone was the primary medium for sculptors, allowing for intricate detailing and expressive forms. Sculptures often depicted deities in various poses and iconographic forms, conveying their divine attributes and spiritual significance. Notable examples include the iconic images of Shiva as the cosmic dancer, Nataraja, Vishnu reclining on the serpent Ananta, Anantasayana, and Uma Maheshvara, the divine couple. Bronze casting was another prominent artistic practice in Champa, with artisans producing elaborately decorated ritual objects, ceremonial weapons, and household items. Bronze drums, in particular, were prized for their artistic craftsmanship and symbolic significance, serving as musical instruments, religious offerings, and symbols of elite status within Champa society. In addition to sculptures, Champa's artistic legacy is preserved in a diverse array of artifacts, including ceramics, jewelry, textiles, and ritual objects. Ceramic vessels, adorned with intricate designs and motifs, were used for domestic purposes, religious rituals, and trade. Jewelry crafted from gold, silver, and precious gemstones showcased the kingdom's wealth and social status, while textiles such as batik and silk were prized for their quality and craftsmanship. Champa's architectural heritage is exemplified by a series of monumental structures and temple complexes that dot the landscape of central and southern Vietnam. Inspired by Indian and Khmer architectural styles, Champa's temples were characterized by their distinctive tower-like structures, intricate carvings, and sacred symbolism. The Mai Sun Sanctuary, located near the ancient capital of Indrapura, is one of the most renowned architectural wonders of Champa. Built between the 4th and 14th centuries Common Era, the sanctuary comprises a series of Hindu temple complexes dedicated to various deities, including Shiva, Vishnu, and Uma. The towering brick temples, adorned with elaborate bas-reliefs and decorative motifs, served as centers of religious worship, pilgrimage, and ritual ceremonies. Another architectural masterpiece of Champa is the Po Nagar Cham Towers, situated in present-day Nha Trang. Constructed between the 7th and 12th centuries Common Era, these towers are dedicated to the Hindu goddess Po Nagar, known as Bhagavati in Sanskrit, who was revered as the patron deity of Champa. The towers, built of brick and sandstone, feature intricately carved facades, lingam yoni shrines, and stone inscriptions, reflecting Champa's religious syncretism and cultural sophistication. Champa's architectural legacy also extends to its urban centers, fortified citadels, and irrigation systems, which played crucial roles in sustaining the kingdom's political power, economic prosperity, and social cohesion. Urban planning principles, such as centralized layouts, axial symmetry, and water management techniques, were employed to create organized and sustainable urban environments that catered to the needs of Champa's inhabitants. Champa's literary tradition encompassed a diverse range of texts, manuscripts, and oral traditions that reflected the kingdom's cultural heritage, religious beliefs, and historical narratives. While much of Champa's literary corpus has been lost or remains undiscovered, fragments of inscriptions, palm leaf manuscripts, and oral epics provide valuable insights into the kingdom's literary achievements. One of the notable literary contributions of Champa is the inscriptional tradition, which flourished during the kingdom's heyday between the 7th and 15th centuries Common Era. Inscriptions carved onto stone stels, temple walls, and bronze artifacts served as commemorative records, royal decrees, and religious dedications, shedding light on Champa's political history, religious practices, and social customs. Champa's literary heritage also encompassed oral traditions and epic poetry, passed down through generations by bards, storytellers, and religious practitioners. These oral narratives, often composed in poetic form and accompanied by music and dance, celebrated heroic deeds, mythical tales, and moral lessons, while also serving as vehicles for cultural transmission and identity formation within Champa society. While much of Champa's literary heritage has been overshadowed by the literary traditions of neighboring civilizations such as India and China, recent scholarship has sought to recover and reinterpret the kingdom's literary legacy. Through interdisciplinary research and collaborative efforts, scholars are uncovering new insights into Champa's literary contributions and their significance for understanding the cultural dynamics of Southeast Asia. The religious landscape of the Champa kingdom was shaped by the gradual introduction and assimilation of Hinduism and Buddhism, two major Indic faiths that exerted significant influence on Champa's culture, society, and worldview. The origins of Hinduism and Buddhism in Champa can be traced back to ancient India, from where these religious traditions spread to Southeast Asia via maritime trade routes and cultural exchange. Hinduism, with its pantheon of deities, rituals, and scriptures, was introduced to Champa by Indian merchants, missionaries, and scholars who traveled to the region during the early centuries of the Common Era. Hinduism gained popularity among the ruling elite and urban elites of Champa, who embraced the worship of major deities such as Shiva, Vishnu, Durga, and Ganesha. Temples dedicated to Hindu gods and goddesses, adorned with sculptural reliefs and ritual objects, became centers of religious worship, pilgrimage, and royal patronage. Buddhism also found a receptive audience in Champa, particularly among the merchant class, urban artisans, and rural communities who were attracted to its teachings of compassion, morality, and liberation from suffering. Theravada Buddhism, practiced by the Mon and Khmer peoples of Southeast Asia, coexisted alongside Mahayana and Vajrayana forms of Buddhism, which were influenced by Indian and Tibetan traditions. Buddhist monasteries, stupas, and meditation halls dotted the landscape of Champa, providing spiritual guidance and communal support to its adherents. One of the distinctive features of religious practice in Champa was the phenomenon of syncretism, whereby Hindu and Buddhist beliefs and rituals coexisted and intermingled with indigenous animistic traditions and cults. This syncretic approach to religion allowed for the adaptation and assimilation of diverse cultural influences, resulting in a rich tapestry of religious syncretism that was unique to Champa's cultural milieu. For example, Hindu deities such as Shiva and Vishnu were often assimilated with local animistic spirits and ancestral deities, resulting in hybrid forms of worship and iconography. Likewise, Buddhist rituals and practices were integrated with indigenous folk beliefs and healing ceremonies, reflecting the pragmatic and inclusive nature of religious syncretism in Champa society. The syncretic nature of religious practice in Champa also facilitated cultural exchange and mutual enrichment between Hindu and Buddhist communities, as well as with other religious traditions such as Taoism, Confucianism, and Islam, which coexisted alongside Indic faiths in the multicultural landscape of Southeast Asia. Temples, shrines, and pilgrimage sites served as common spaces of interaction and dialogue, where devotees from different religious backgrounds could come together in reverence and fellowship. The legacy of Champa's religious practices continues to resonate in the cultural heritage and spiritual traditions of modern-day Vietnam, where Hindu and Buddhist influences are still evident in rituals, festivals, and architectural monuments. Despite the decline of the Champa kingdom and the spread of other religious traditions such as Confucianism and Christianity, elements of Hindu and Buddhist worship persist in Vietnamese society, particularly among ethnic minority communities in central and southern Vietnam. Architectural wonders such as the Mai Sun Sanctuary and Po Nagar Chom Towers stand as enduring symbols of Champa's religious heritage, attracting visitors and pilgrims from around the world. These sacred sites, though weathered by time and conflict, continue to inspire awe and reverence for the spiritual achievements of the Champa people, who built and maintained them as expressions of devotion and cultural pride. The syncretic ethos of Champa's religious practices serves as a testament to the kingdom's openness to cultural diversity and its ability to adapt and evolve in response to changing social, political, and environmental conditions. By embracing religious syncretism, Champa created a legacy of tolerance, inclusivity, and creativity that continues to enrich the cultural tapestry of Southeast Asia and beyond. The Champa Kingdom's strategic location along the South China Sea facilitated its active participation in maritime trade networks that connected Southeast Asia with India, China, the Middle East, and beyond. Champa's coastline was dotted with natural harbors, estuaries, and river mouths, which served as vital ports of call for merchants, sailors, and traders navigating the maritime routes of the Indian Ocean and South China Sea. Champa's maritime trade routes encompassed a vast expanse of territory, stretching from the Malacca Strait in the south to the Gulf of Tonkin in the north, and from the coast of Cambodia in the west to the islands of Indonesia in the east. These trade routes formed the arteries of Champa's economy, facilitating the exchange of goods, ideas, and cultural influences between diverse civilizations and regions. Key maritime trade routes associated with Champa included the Silk Road of the Sea, which connected Southeast Asia with China, India, and the Middle East via the Malacca Strait and South China Sea. The Spice Route linked Champa with the Spice Islands of Indonesia, the Malay Peninsula, and the Indian subcontinent, where valuable commodities such as cloves, nutmeg, pepper, and cinnamon were traded. Champa's economy was diversified and dynamic, encompassing a wide range of economic activities that contributed to the kingdom's prosperity and cultural vitality. Agriculture formed the backbone of Champa's economy, with rice cultivation, fishing, and horticulture being primary sources of livelihood for rural communities. The kingdom's fertile river valleys and coastal plains supported intensive agriculture, while inland forests provided timber, resin, and other natural resources for construction and trade. Champa's economy thrived on maritime trade, manufacturing, and handicraft production. Coastal cities such as Indrapura, Vijaya, and Panduranga served as bustling centers of commerce, where merchants from distant lands congregated to exchange goods, negotiate deals, and forge commercial partnerships. Trade goods exported from Champa included spices, ceramics, precious metals, textiles, aromatic woods, and exotic animals, while imports ranged from luxury items such as silk, ivory, and gemstones to essential commodities such as salt, iron, and horses. Champa was also renowned for its craftsmanship and artisanal skills, with artisans producing a wide variety of high-quality goods for domestic consumption and export. Skilled craftsmen specialized in pottery, metalwork, weaving, jewelry making, and wood carving, creating products that were prized for their beauty, durability, and symbolic value. Champa's artisans played a crucial role in shaping the kingdom's cultural identity and contributing to its reputation as a center of artistic excellence in Southeast Asia. The Champa kingdom exerted significant influence on regional trade networks and economic dynamics through its strategic position as a maritime entrepot and cultural intermediary between East and West. Champa's ports served as important nodes in the network of Indian Ocean trade, connecting Southeast Asia with the broader world economy and facilitating the exchange of goods and ideas across cultural boundaries. Champa's influence on regional trade extended to neighboring polities such as the Khmer Empire, the Dai Viet Kingdom, Vietnam, the Srivijaya Empire, Sumatra, and the Majapahit Empire, Java, with whom Champa maintained diplomatic relations, commercial partnerships, and cultural exchanges. These interactions fostered mutual enrichment and cooperation in areas such as maritime navigation, shipbuilding, port infrastructure, and commercial law, laying the groundwork for the development of a vibrant and interconnected trading system in Southeast Asia. Champa's cultural and religious heritage played a key role in shaping regional trade networks and commercial practices, as evidenced by the spread of Hindu and Buddhist iconography, architectural styles, and religious rituals throughout Southeast Asia. Temples, shrines, and sacred sites associated with Champa's religious traditions served as focal points for pilgrimage, trade, and cultural exchange, attracting devotees, merchants, and travelers from distant lands. The Champa kingdom's relations with China were marked by a complex interplay of diplomacy, trade, and occasional conflict, as both powers vied for influence and control over maritime trade routes and strategic territories in Southeast Asia. China's imperial dynasties, particularly the Tang and Song dynasties, maintained diplomatic ties with Champa through tributary missions, diplomatic envoys, and trade exchanges. Champa's relations with China were characterized by a tributary system, whereby Champa acknowledged the nominal suzerainty of the Chinese emperor in exchange for trade privileges, diplomatic recognition, and occasional military support. Champa's rulers, known as Fanglai kings, sent tribute missions to the Chinese court, bearing gifts such as exotic goods, rare animals, and precious metals, as a gesture of goodwill and allegiance. Despite the tributary relationship, Champa's relations with China were not always harmonious, as both powers competed for control over strategic territories such as the island of Hainan, which served as a crucial stopover for maritime trade and naval expeditions in the South China Sea. Conflicts between Champa and China often erupted over territorial disputes, piracy, and competing claims to sovereignty, leading to intermittent military confrontations and diplomatic tensions. Champa's interaction with the Khmer Empire, centered in present-day Cambodia, was characterized by a complex relationship of rivalry, alliance, and cultural exchange, as both powers vied for dominance over the Mekong Delta and the maritime trade routes of Southeast Asia. The Khmer Empire, with its powerful capital city of Angkor, exerted considerable influence over the region, including parts of present-day Vietnam that were historically inhabited by Cham people. Champa's relations with the Khmer Empire were shaped by a combination of diplomatic marriages, military alliances, and territorial disputes, as both powers sought to expand their territories and secure control over lucrative trade routes. Interactions between Champa and the Khmer Empire were facilitated by the flow of goods, ideas, and cultural influences along the Mekong River and the coastline of present-day Vietnam. Despite occasional conflicts and territorial disputes, Champa and the Khmer Empire also engaged in cultural exchange and religious syncretism, as evidenced by the spread of Hindu and Buddhist iconography, architectural styles, and religious practices throughout Southeast Asia. Temples such as Preah Vihear and Panam Chizar, located on the border between Champa and the Khmer Empire, bear witness to the shared cultural heritage and religious traditions of both civilizations. The Champa kingdom's interaction with Indian and Javanese cultures played a significant role in shaping its religious beliefs, cultural practices, and artistic achievements. Indian cultural and religious influences, transmitted through maritime trade routes and diplomatic contacts, had a profound impact on Champa's society, particularly in the realms of religion, art, and architecture. Hinduism and Buddhism, which originated in India, were introduced to Champa by Indian merchants, missionaries, and scholars, who traveled to the region and established religious communities, temples, and monasteries. Champa's rulers embraced Hindu and Buddhist doctrines, patronized religious institutions, and commissioned monumental temples and sculptures that reflected Indian iconography and architectural styles. Javanese cultural influences, emanating from the island of Java in present-day Indonesia, also left their mark on Champa's society, particularly in the realms of language, literature, and courtly etiquette. The Old Javanese language, known as Kawi, was used as a literary and administrative language in Champa's royal court, where it coexisted with Sanskrit and Cham scripts. Javanese cultural practices, such as batik textiles, wayang shadow puppetry, and gamelan music, were adopted and adapted by Champa's elite classes, contributing to the kingdom's cultural diversity and cosmopolitanism. The decline of the Champa kingdom was precipitated by a series of internal conflicts and dynastic struggles that weakened the kingdom's political cohesion and stability. Throughout its history, Champa was characterized by rivalries between competing noble families, factions within the royal court, and provincial governors vying for power and influence. Dynastic succession disputes were a recurring challenge for Champa's rulers, with rival claimants to the throne often resorting to intrigue, conspiracy, and military force to assert their legitimacy. Succession crises and power struggles weakened the central authority of the monarchy, leading to factionalism, fragmentation, and periodic civil wars that drained the kingdom's resources and undermined its ability to govern effectively. Internal conflicts were exacerbated by socio-economic tensions, ethnic rivalries, and religious schisms within Champa society. The growing influence of Brahmanical Hinduism and Theravada Buddhism, imported from India and Sri Lanka, respectively, led to competition and conflicts between religious sects, as well as between adherents of indigenous animistic beliefs and foreign faiths. The decline of the Champa kingdom was also hastened by external pressures and invasions from neighboring powers, who sought to expand their territories, control strategic resources, and assert dominance over the region. Champa's vulnerable position along the South China Sea made it a target for conquest and colonization by larger and more powerful empires, including the Vietnamese Dai Viet Kingdom, later known as Vietnam, and the Majapahit Empire of Java. The Vietnamese expansion into Champa's territory, beginning in the 11th century Common Era, posed a significant threat to the kingdom's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Vietnamese rulers, motivated by territorial ambitions and ideological zeal, launched military campaigns against Champa, capturing key cities, fortresses, and trade routes along the coastline. These incursions weakened Champa's defenses, disrupted its trade networks, and eroded its political autonomy. Similarly, the rise of the Majapahit Empire in Java during the 14th century Common Era posed a formidable challenge to Champa's regional influence and maritime trade networks. Majapahit's naval power and military prowess allowed it to dominate the maritime trade routes of Southeast Asia, including those controlled by Champa, and exert pressure on Champa's coastal cities and overseas territories. The demise of the Champa kingdom had far-reaching consequences for the region's political landscape, cultural heritage, and ethnic identity. With the gradual loss of territory to Vietnamese and Javanese conquests, Champa's once prosperous cities and temple complexes fell into decline, leaving behind ruins and relics that bear witness to the kingdom's former glory. The decline and fall of the Champa kingdom also left a void in the political landscape of Southeast Asia, paving the way for the rise of new regional powers and empires, such as the Nguyen dynasty in Vietnam and the Ayutthaya kingdom in Thailand. However, the legacy of Champa's cultural heritage, religious syncretism, and maritime trade networks continues to inspire scholars, artists, and enthusiasts around the world, reminding us of the kingdom's enduring impact on the history and culture of Southeast Asia. In conclusion, resurrecting the legacy of the Champa kingdom requires a concerted effort to rediscover, celebrate, and preserve its cultural heritage, while also acknowledging its contemporary relevance and significance in shaping our understanding of Southeast Asian history and identity. By embracing the lessons of the past and honoring the cultural legacy of Champa, we can ensure that its story continues to inspire and enrich the lives of generations to come.